All right. You'll have to excuse the way I look. Really don't feel like getting dressed up or doing anything with myself lately. But there's a serious issue going on lately anymore for both adults and youth. And it's a subject that's, kind of like a lot of people don't address it very much. And give me a second. This is my son's home behavioral specialist. So this is like one of my points. We don't display our private life too much on like Facebook, social media, or to any of our friends. Even a lot of family members don't really know what's going on in our household, what we've been going through the past 2 years. But I have a son. He's 10 years old. He's been diagnosed with autism. Before that, when he was about 5, 6 years old, he was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD. Let's make sure I go down any further. Put on medications. I guess my chair doesn't go down. Put on medications, stimulants, Adderall, things like that. Made things worse. Just figured he was a very hyperactive kid. First, I didn't want to think or believe there was anything wrong or different about him. Not necessarily saying wrong, but as the years went by, we've noticed it got worse and worse and worse and worse. And what first started was he started school when he was 3, Head Start. Some slight problems there. Just figured he was a very overactive child. Not too many problems at home, just some defiance, which you would think that a child would push your buttons that young and stuff to see what they can and can't do, what they can and can't get away with. Then as he got into kindergarten, it got worse. Well, pre-K, he was eloping from the classroom. He was starting to show signs of aggression, very defiant towards the teachers, things like that. Started showing some signs at home as well. Kindergarten, it just really got bad. He was hitting other kids. He was talking back. He was doing things that a child that age shouldn't typically do. He was well above his classmates on certain things that kids his age wouldn't know how to do, like adding and multiplying at 5 years old in kindergarten. But we started at home early with him. And then there were some things he was behind on compared to other kids. Like he was ahead of other kids, fully potty trained by the time he was like 2.5, not even pull-ups for bed, feeding himself, dressing himself. But we started noticing he didn't like the feeling of certain clothes, very loud noises. He only wanted to be touched when he wanted to be touched, things like that. Well, as he started getting older and older, it got worse and worse and worse. Very defiant at school, aggressive, eloping, running the halls, causing a huge disturbance for the other classes and teachers. And I think he was in maybe second grade when he was first removed from the regular school system and placed into a specialized school for children who both have special needs and behavioral problems. The doctor he was seeing at the time would just, let's try this medicine. He'd be on it for 2 months. Well, let's try this medicine. Oh, he's ADD. Oh, he's ADHD. Oh, he's ODD. Oh, he has severe anxiety. It was just one thing after another, after another, after another. It was ridiculous. It was very ridiculous. And it got to the point that I didn't even want to see that therapist anymore, because when we went in there, she didn't even sit down and talk to DJ. She'd sit him on the floor by a bookshelf with a bunch of toys, and she talked to me. Well, yeah, you're getting, from the word of the mom or the word of the dad, what's going on at home or in school or in public and society and stuff like that, but you're not talking to the child to get down to the bottom of everything. So we pulled him from that therapist and we found a new one. The new therapist didn't agree with all the medications they had him on. Come to find out, stimulants did make things worse for him. Night terrors, saying he saw shadow people, terrified to be in his room alone when he never had a problem in his room before. So we had a house blessing done. Things seemed to get better. Then we found out he had what's called Hashimoto's disease. It's a very severe thyroid disease. And that can cause aggression, irritability, mood swings, all kinds of things. All kinds of things. I mean, the thyroid issues can have all the same symptoms as ADD, ADHD, anxiety, aggression, all that stuff. Then this psychiatrist finally, things got really bad, really bad. He was running out of the house, running around the neighborhood. We couldn't find him, hiding in bushes, behind cars, in alleys, things like that. Started getting very scary to the point to where he was running away. Well, he finished the CBH school and went back into a regular school district to try to give him a chance. It got to the point where he was running out of the building. It was causing a severe danger to himself. A lot of people said it was my fault because I really didn't spank him much growing up. But when it came to DJ, what hurt him the most was not being able to go outside. DJ is a type of child who, like from back in the days when we were growing up, he'd rather be outside on his bike. He'd rather be playing with the other kids outside. From the time he woke up till the time he went to sleep, he didn't want to be pinned in the house. He had to go, go, go. But also at the same time, there was only certain kids he could be around, certain kids he wanted to be around, certain places he didn't want to be, things like that, like the playground. 4 or 5 kids, he was fine. Once the playground filled up with a bunch of kids, he wanted to go home. Grocery stores, he was fine. Maybe 20 minutes. After that, he had to leave. He just had to get out of there. He didn't want to be there anymore. I am going to have to end this here very shortly because his home specialist will be here in a few minutes, and then I'll continue after they're gone. But it got to the point where DJ was put into a adolescent mental hospital, and I hate using that word, mental hospital, psychiatric hospital. He was there for maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks tops, which we didn't think was enough time for them to really get to know him because he wasn't comfortable there at first. He wasn't opening up, showing his true colors, things like that. So they switched his medications, sent him home. How are you supposed to be able to evaluate him and know if that medication's working? Came home. Things were pretty okay for a week. Exactly a week later, it got worse. He tried to jump off of a railing at school, saying he was going to kill himself. Took a butter knife out of the kitchen drawer, saying he was going to stab himself in the stomach. Beating the hell out of himself. Punching himself over and over and over in the face until he saw blood shattering, like just pouring out of his nose, his lip busted. It got to the point where we honestly did have CYS in our house maybe 4 or 5 times for allegations of abuse against him because he would go to school with these marks on his face and black eyes and bruises and busted lip and stuff, to where every time they talked to him and he'd tell them, my mom don't even spank me. And if she does, it's with her hand. And every time they found it, nothing found. Finally, I started recording his fits when he started abusing himself. That way I had proof. That way nobody can say, well, she's conning the kid in and saying that mom doesn't abuse him. It got really scary. He ended up back in the hospital a week later. He was there for maybe a week, 2 weeks. This is a different hospital. They gave him the nickname the Tasmanian Devil there. They said it's like he had an on switch that was broke, and he just kept going and going and going and going. About a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he came home. Things were great. The medication switch was great. He was a completely different child. He was like a normal, and I hate using that word normal, but he was like a normal kid with the temper tantrums and stomping his feet and a little bit of defiance here and there, but turned into a straight A and B honor roll student, no C's, like straight A's and B's. Really good for about 6 to 8 months. After about 6 to 8 months, it got bad again. It got really bad. He ended up in the hospital again. That was the 3rd time within a year and a half. switched his medications. And this was the same hospital as the one that gave him the nickname Tasmanian Devil. Same medications. Switched his medications. Everything was great. After a couple months, things just started seeming really off about him. Well, that's when finally he was sent to see a specialist, and he was diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed with high-functioning Asperger's. So it kind of, put things together on certain things, like he won't wear jeans. It's got to be sweatpants or like basketball shorts type material. Certain blankets he doesn't like the feeling of. Like the seams in your shirts, he doesn't like the feeling of them. His shoes have to be tied super tight. And if they don't feel tight enough, they have to be retied and retied and retied and retied until they feel good enough. The way he sets certain things up in his room, he can be very clean on certain things, but then he can be very messy with certain other things. His knowledge of things that I have to Google just to even check if it's true or not is just outstanding. His IQ score was above average for his age. Then one day, things just started seeming a little more off than normal. We figured maybe his thyroid levels were off because he's on a thyroid medication. When his thyroid levels would be off and they have to adjust his medication, we would start seeing that irritability, aggression, things like that again. Well, he was on the porch poured paint on his skateboard in the porch. And I asked him why he did that, and he just flipped. He took off up the street, but he took off on the one way, a dead end, so I can see him the whole time. No, he wasn't going nowhere, so there was no point in chasing him, because if you chase him, he runs more. He runs faster, he runs harder. It escalates the issue. And when he walked back down to the house, he was pale white, sweating profusely. His pupils were as big as his eyes, pure black. And he attacked me. He took these huge heavy metal candle holders that I had on my table and started chucking them at me. Anything else he could find, he was throwing at me. He was hitting on me. Then he grabbed the baseball bat. He grabbed the baseball bat and told me he was going to hurt me bad and started swinging the baseball bat at me. I don't know why I didn't run out the front door. I don't know what in my head at that moment made me run up the stairs and lock myself in the bathroom. And he was beating my bathroom door with a baseball bat, trying to get in after me. I had to call 911. By the time they got here, I was still in the bathroom locked in, and I couldn't hear him anymore. But I was scared to open the door because I didn't know if he was just being quiet. Well, he was passed out cold. They walked him out to the cop car, and they took him straight to the hospital. He ended up back in the hospital again, this time out in Ohio. He was out there for a while. That's when they said, no, he's bipolar. He's got the autism, but he's got bipolar. So you got to think of the sensory issues with the autism, where you can get a sensory overload, mixed with the bipolar, where there's an overload, it all clashing together, just caused a ticking time bomb. I was bruised from my chest down to my knees. And that was a little hard for me to know that my son didn't have the control, that he hurt me that bad, not realizing that he could have killed me that day. He was only in there maybe a week, 2 weeks. That's what I don't understand. The insurance company can't hold him longer than a week, 2 weeks. They won't pay for it. My feeling is that he needed to be taken off all meds except for his thyroid medication, weaned off completely and started over fresh and have a longer stay so they can see what's going on. When he came home, things started getting good again. It's like that flip-flop. Getting good, then you have your bad times. Then it gets good, you have your bad times. Then here recently, it got bad. It got really bad. Kicked out of school, his first week of school, attacking other kids, eloping. He attacked a police officer, not a school guard, an actual Johnstown police officer. And the school tried to force the officer to press charges. But The officer could tell there was something deeper, that it wasn't just a behavioral problem, so he didn't want to press charges. Well, a couple of days later, DJ flipped out at home again and took off running through the neighborhood. We restrain him a lot. We have to lay him down on the floor and restrain him, stop him from hurting himself or hurting us. And the last time we restrained him, which was back in September, I think it was September 12th or 13th, the restraint went on for over a half an hour. He was not coming down. He bit Joey up his arms multiple times, drew blood. Then he finally looked at us and told us that he was going to kill us both in our sleep that night. That's when I called crisis. Crisis could hear everything on the phone, him constantly threatening and screaming and everything else. So they called the cops, took him to the hospital. And we sat in the hospital for about 3-4 days till they found a bed for him. They found a bed for him at another mental institution for children, 5 hours away from home. Between 3 hours, 45 minutes to 5 hours, depending on the traffic, things like that. He was there for 2 months. 2 months. September 16th up until, I think, November 16th. It was hard not having my son at home, but I knew he was getting help, or at least so I thought. They did do pretty good. Changed his medications, but now my kid's 102 pounds, has low self-esteem. Things were great the first week he was home, and now it's bad again. He's refusing to go to school. I can't force him to get out the car because then he flips out and he attacks. He broke the water fountain at school, so now we're waiting on a bill for that. And he's not in regular school neither. He's in an alternative school for children with special needs. He was accepted into an RTF, which is a residential treatment facility. He'll be going in January. The reason why they released him from the hospital is because he was doing so good. But now we think he manipulated them because they told him that he wasn't going to get to go home until he started being good. While in the hospital, he was attacking staff, attacking other kids in there for no reason. Just jump up and go attack. One night they found him standing above his roommate, blank stare in the middle of the night when they went to go do bed checks. Things at home were pretty good the first couple weeks. Now it's bad again. Very defiant. Now it's to lying really bad. He can do something in front of your face and straight up tell you, I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. You're lying. Why are you always accusing me of stuff? And it's to the point now he's stealing. He's stealing from us here in the house. Petty things too. He collects Hot Wheels cars. Well, I had 2 special Hot Wheels cars that I bought for myself to collect. He opened them. They're a special edition. Can't get them. And I had the trash in my hand that he hid in his room, and he still bold-faced lied to me and then flipped out on me. And then just the other night, I went to tuck him into bed, and he always puts his remote control underneath his pillow when he goes to sleep. So I went to check if his remote was underneath there so I could turn his TV off to tuck him in. I found a $50 bill. He tells me I found it at Walmart while we were at Walmart tonight. We didn't even go to Walmart that night. We only went to Bed Bath & Beyond. Swear as a God that it wasn't mine. I checked my wallet. $50 missing out of my wallet. $50 missing out of my wallet. And still, here it is 2-3 days later. He is denying it. Tell me I spent that money. That's where my money went, that he found that. He's now talking about, and not just now, he was talking about it in the hospital while he was in the psychiatric hospital about demons. He can hear demons telling him what to do. They're not telling him to hurt anybody or hurt himself, but they're telling him to be bad and do things like that. When you try to talk to him about it, he tells us he can't talk about it. He's not allowed. They said he's not allowed to talk to anybody. And his own specialist asked why. And if he talks to anybody about it or tells anybody about it, they're going to hurt him. They're going to hurt him. They're going to kill him. And it's like, sorry. It feels like I'm failing as a mom. I do everything I can for this kid. I put him before me. Past 4 or 5 years, I go to the thrift store and I buy clothes for myself. I just finally bought myself about a year ago a new pair of shoes. I haven't had a new pair of shoes in about 8 years because I always put my kid before myself. It's causing stress between me and my husband. He's threatened to leave. It's causing stress in my personal life. I've had to retire from 2 jobs already in the past 2 years because every time I turned around, I was getting a phone call that I had to come get him from school, or like the one instance, they couldn't find him. He got out of the school. It's a special needs school. The doors are supposed to be locked so the kids can't get out. It was thundering and lightning and pouring down rain. He was barefoot in the woods somewhere for an hour. Cops were looking for him. Everybody was looking for him. The last job I had closed down in June. So he wasn't at fault of me losing my job then. But June, July, August, September, December, it's been 6 months since I've had a job. My unemployment's not going to last very much longer. I'm going crazy myself sitting in this house 24/7. I'm depressed. I've been going through a lot of depression lately, and I feel alone. I feel guilty. I feel really guilty because I can't help my son. And I feel guilty about January coming up, knowing that he's leaving to go to the RTF. Because with the RTF, it can be a 3 to 6 month stay. It can be a 6 month to a year stay. It all depends. But hopefully in there, they can take him off of everything. Because now I'm being told from this hospital, he's not bipolar. He's got disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. That can lead to bipolar. And he makes me feel guilty. He'll tell me, you're sending me away because you don't love me or because you don't want me here. And that's far from true. It's far from true. The 2 months he was gone, I still walked in his bedroom at night when it was time to tuck him in, wishing he was there, knowing that I couldn't just drive to go see him whenever I wanted. At least in Pittsburgh, he'll be closer. But the thing that I'm going to feel the most guilty about later in life is if I don't have him put in this RTF and he turns around and he kills somebody or himself or seriously hurts somebody. And what a lot of people don't realize is mental health can turn into addiction. It can turn into felony charges later in life. It can turn into a lot of bad things, even death, suicide. And I'm not going to be one of them moms that turn around and say, not my kid. That wasn't my kid. Sounds like he's waking up now. Or he's talking in his sleep again, because he does that a lot. He does that a lot. Crying. Because I feel like a bad mother. I feel guilty. I feel guilty. All I want to do is get him help. It's scary. It's scary to say that you're scared of your own kid. No parent should be scared of their own kid. I shouldn't be scared to sleep at night. He's setting things on fire. His floor in his bedroom, his bed. You awake? If there's any other parents out there that are going through the same thing, you're not alone. I mean, I feel alone, but you're not alone. Don't feel guilty for getting your kid help. Don't feel guilty. Well, I'm going to get off here for now because his specialist is pulling up and he just woke up. And I don't like to talk in front of him about certain things. I don't know what else to do. Don't know what to do anymore. It's hard. It is hard. Not everything works the same for everybody, but the first step for any of it is to not be in denial. Not be in denial, whether it's for yourself, for your child, for anybody. Don't be in denial. You got to make that first step. And then don't ever stop pushing. Don't ever stop fighting. Don't let doctors tell you that it's just this or that, or there's nothing wrong or anything. Let them understand. Fight for your kid. Fight for your kid. Fight for your family members, whether it's your mother, your dad, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, aunt, uncle, whoever it is, fight for them. I've been my child's advocate for 7 years now. 7 years. And it's getting harder and harder and harder because I'm 4'11", 112 pounds, and he's 4'6", 102 pounds. It's scary. It's really, really scary. I shouldn't have to go through this. My husband shouldn't have to go through this. My son shouldn't have to go through this. Nobody should. I mean, I've got bags under my eyes. I don't feel like putting my eyebrows on anymore. I stay in sweatpants. There's no point in getting dressed up. Not whenever you're not the first priority anymore. I mean, as a parent, you're never the first priority. Your children are, but his well-being is more important than mine. Are you okay in there? Yeah. Refused to go to school again today. Refused. Called the cops last week. See if they could send an officer over to get him removed from my car while I was sitting in front of the school for a half an hour trying to get him out of my car. They said they couldn't force him to get out and go. But if the child doesn't go, then the parents are the ones in trouble. Truancy, bad parent syndrome, things like that. And nobody else will help you if he's not threatening himself or anybody else. If nobody's in immediate danger, there's no help for it. Watch out for the signs, especially when it comes to the young ones. Get them help. Get them help soon enough, or before it's too late, fight. Fight. Fight for them. Well, I'm going to get off here for now. I'll be back later. Bye.